celebrate too hard. All right.
Sorry. No, we're ready.
All right, minutes of last meeting. We have these supplied by Katherine. Thank you. And these are as a draft on
Yes.
Okay. A little hard. I wasn't at the last meeting, so probably not checking that here.
There wasn't a quorum, was there?
Excuse me?
I don't think there was a quorum at last meeting. Let's see,
Chris, Pam, Kelly, and myself.
Well, Chris doesn't count, so.
Okay.
You guys want to take 2 minutes to read these, or do we have just,
I can't vote on, I wasn't here, so.
okay. Neither was I.
I'm the only one that's
The
here.
only one here. Okay, well, we'll just we'll just keep this till the next meeting. Okay, so the minutes, we'll just go through them next meeting. Treasurer's report, we don't have a treasurer, so Pam is taking over that duty, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so no treasurer's report. Sheriff Short? No? Okay, no Sheriff Short.
Last time he came in a little bit late, there was a protest in Palmdale, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, so well, if he comes in, we'll pick up the report then. Library report. John?
Good evening. Just a couple things for you. I left the calendars on your desks, of course. I always like to highlight one program, and for tonight that would be our Snap Circuits program for the young kids, 8 and up, starting on at 4 o'clock on Wednesday.
What is it?
It's a STEM program. It gets kids interested in engineering and mathematics and stuff like that.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
It's very much like Legos, only there's a circuit and electrical current that goes through, so you light things up, things spin around, and it's all. Also, I was looking at the meeting agenda, and it says your next meeting is on the 18th. The library is
Wednesday?
closed on the 18th.
Oh, Martin Luther King Day?
Yes. yes.
Oh, okay.
If you still want to have a meeting, we'll make sure somebody's here, we'll open everything up for you, it's no problem at all. Just let me know, I need like a week to set things up,
Okay. We'll have to,
but
Thank
it should be no trouble whatsoever. And also, I was digging through one of the storage closets, it turns out we have an extra little microphone over here, and I know there was a lot of talk last time in the meeting before about, what was it? The open forum, so I thought if you like, I could put the microphone right in the center of the aisle, because I know there's always trouble with people hearing what everyone is saying. If you want, we have it available to you whatever you like.
Okay.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay, next time I'll set it up. That's it, unless anyone has any questions.
any questions? No?
Thank you.
And, announcements and correspondences. Anybody have any come in?
Actually, I did, Edison sent a little flyer out to people about the planting.
Okay.
Are they doing more than just seeds?
They have planted, in my area, they've planted some actual plants. And they've got irrigation systems and.
Really?
Yes.
You're lucky.
But it's no rhyme or reason to where they put them. Well, I'm sure there is, but I don't understand it. So there's a whole cluster of them in one spot, and then there's still open areas with nothing. So I don't know if they're replacing what was there before they started, or.
They're supposed to actually replace like for like at spot.
Right. Now, when I talked to the it's not the person doing the plants, he's I have his card, but he's a biologist that does all the wildlife surveys.
Montero?
Mark something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He said that they put one species of plant in because that's all that's available at this time. So they may be having trouble getting all the particular species ready to put in. And then the rest was just the grass, the hydro seeding of the grass.
Okay, well, they were supposed to have collected seed stock from what they took out from 6 years ago. Had them in the nursery with pots over the last 4 or 5 years, so they'd be relatively mature by now when it was time to reseed. So if they don't have something ready, that means they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I'm unclear if you said they weren't ready because the season wasn't correct, or they weren't ready because they didn't have them.
Okay, because they did, I believe, Katherine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they did confirm within the last 4 or 5 years that they would be doing the replanting starting, I thought, in the winter and early spring of when they want to do it, which would be now. So maybe we can agendize this for a discussion in February meeting. I don't know if we're going to meeting in January, whatever
Okay.
is decided, but because that needs to be followed up on. Have they done any planting in your area?
I haven't seen it, I can look around.
Evangelist Forest?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
And maybe if we can get the name of that gentleman, maybe we can even invite him to come to the meeting, to a meeting in February.
I don't think Patricia's available anymore, I
No,
emailed
she's
her,
not.
but, yeah.
But
And I
there's,
don't know who took her place.
Yeah, we'll just call their attorney. I have no problem doing that.
Ian?
Yeah.
Ian Forrest?
And saying, hey, you know, we're looking for some of these things and understand things aren't available. We understand that whole effort would be well underway by now. It's not even, there's no sign of it happening at all in the Angeles Forest area, which is where most of the decimation occurred. So Patricia's not, is she not responding to you, or is she just not?
She's not.
So we need,
I think she's moved
so
on to
who would
something
we
else.
talk to? And
I had an email from somebody else a couple days ago saying
Really?
that they're gonna be doing, I'm gonna look it up in a second, they're gonna be
Okay.
doing work on our property, this is about a week ago. And no specifics at all, it just came from Edison. And I emailed back and said, can you be more specific, what work are you doing on our property, because we actually don't have anything but a power pole on our land, you know, it had not tried to, it's just the normal delivery. And he emailed back and said, oh, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. So, and I'll get that name for you, Jackie.
Okay, thanks. So I'll get that done within the next meeting.
So we'll agendize the follow-up on the planning in the Angeles Forest area. And Mark, who is the biologist, is not really connected with the planting part of it apparently. He just happens to be there a lot because he's always, at least that's what he was told me, so. But I'm sure he knows who we need to talk to. He's
Okay.
almost
Because
like
usually
every day.
it's not just, there isn't one person for the animals and one person for the plants, it's one person for both, so.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because critters are supported by habitat, so they're linked. There's a nexus there, so. At any rate, yes, if you can get me his information, I'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other correspondence?
Yes, I received the report put out by the Minetta Transportation Institute pertaining to equestrian impacts of high-speed rail. I can talk about that now, or we can talk about it under the high-speed rail section.
Okay, let's do the high-speed rail in
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
Announcements, correspondences. Sheriff Short, would you like to give your report?
Oh, sure. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Hope everybody is doing well. Well, I don't have the final stats for the month because the only person that does them is still out till Thursday. She decided to take the new year off, so all I can say is I'll have it next month. But December was a very busy month, as anybody who's read the journal and the Acton News probably is aware. We've had a number of burglaries of establishments in town. And in fact, last week. 2 of them were hit again.
Perking up and who else?
Perking up and rusting.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I was on special assignment, so I didn't find out until today when I came back and they said, oh, by the way, when you were out, here's what happened. Although I have talked to Perking Up, and the video looks like the same 2 that did the previous one. So I've talked with the owners of the stores about additional security measures to see. But in one of the cases, when they were first hit, I don't know if I covered it last time, they also hit like 9 places in Palmdale. And then they came back and Grizzly Burger's been hit, and they hit the other 2 places. And Taco Bell over in Palmdale has had the same MO last week. Crashed through the front door, 2 guys, so we're figuring they're all related, but we're looking into that, seeing what we can have, so.
What time of night are they, or day are they doing this?
It's like 3, 4 in the morning,
Really?
yeah. It's pretty early. It
Yeah.
depends on their route, I shouldn't say that, because these guys, like when the Palm ones in Palmdale happened, it looks like they started like 11 o'clock, it just basically went on a straight line all the way across, hit 1, 2 in town, and just hit, they were all basically restaurants that they're hitting. So, excuse me, I believe, and so is the detective, you know, they're looking for quick cash. And as I've encouraged business owners before, and I'll say it at the meeting, if you have a cash register, do not leave money in it at night and do not leave it closed, because that's what makes it a target. When you leave the drawer open, put the tray on top and put the little tines up, because the second time they went into 2 of the establishments, that they did that and they didn't take anything, because they obviously saw there was no money in the cash register. And it's much easier to do that than having to buy a new cash register every time, because they're taking those. And that gets expensive. As you know, we found the one from Perkin Up. We didn't find it, but a friend of ours, they found it over here on Antelope Woods, dumped in the bushes. So they're, you know, anybody with a big crowbar can get into them. So they're not that secure.
So are they onto these guys yet, or?
We are working on it. That's all I can tell you at this time. I've been working with the 2 detectives, and we've been looking at hours of video, and we're working on some plans that we're hoping to put an end to it soon, so keep you posted.
Was there an incident at the 49er?
Oh yeah, 49er was broken into also, I
And
understand.
what day was that?
I have to look that up, because it happened about the same week that Perkin Up and Rustic got hit again. I want to say it was
Just before New Year's?
before New Year's,
That week?
that week, yeah. And unfortunately, I said I was on we're working on a special program as a side. This is for Acton. They have a new program for school safety plans. So there's a big push that said everything has to be done, and it's fitting into a big database that actually goes out to all the deputies countywide. So if you have to respond, they hit a button that says schools, hit North Patrol, hit Palmdale, hit Acton. The schools come up including maps, classroom designations, where all the shut-offs are. So if there's an emergency, anybody countywide can respond and go, oh, it's right there. So it was a must. All the resident deputies had to go do their own school, so it was a must that it had to be done. So they took us off schedule and said, here, go lock yourselves in a room and go do these. So, and we got them done on time.
Back to Perking Up and Rustic, they had alarms, but did they have
Yes.
a call into the sheriff's station?
Well, yes, but I'll explain in case people don't realize, when you have a burglar alarm that goes off, it doesn't ring at the sheriff's station immediately. It's normally, it goes off, your alarm company gets the ring.
Right.
They call you, or they call the store. Nobody answers the store. They call the emergency number. They call the second emergency number. If it doesn't go off again, sometimes they don't even do anything. We found that out. If it goes off the second time, they get a second alarm, then they call us and go, oh, by the way, we've got 2 alarms received. We got a glass break and we got an indoor. And they'll tell us exactly which sector, front door, rear door, wherever the system is, they can tell us. But sometimes it's a 15-minute delay.
Right, I understand that.
And, you know, realistically, when you look at it, okay, that's a 10 to 15-minute delay, and if the car happens to be not close, you know, if it's an active alarm, they're rolling more than 1 car. So you've got cars from the city rolling plus the county cars. So that could be 5-10 minutes, sometimes more before they get there. So these guys are in and out and going, yep, what's the clock? I mean,
But when the
don't
sheriff's
put that
station
news in the paper.
But what's the point of having an alarm system? I have an alarm system too, and unfortunately, I haven't been
Yeah.
broken into yet, but,
That's just the way the alarm companies work, and we've fought that. I've talked to a couple of the alarm companies on calls I went and going, hey, you know what, there was a glass break. Why didn't you, well, we only received 1 alarm. In that particular case, it was probably the wind and a branch hit the window of, this was a few years ago, and the alarm went off and then stopped. So they were like, okay, it just, maybe, you know, when it reset, we don't have any other activity. Some of the places have alarms that the alarm company can actually look at the camera and say, hey, we see somebody inside. Boy, that's gonna get cars right away, red lights and siren. That triggers a lot. I know some of the companies are out there. I've seen now advertise you can get an alarm system, you can pick it up from your home or your phone and actually see who's in your business. And you can watch the camera and, you know, especially if you've got, hey, I've got somebody in here. And the note because of that is all of the county units are on alert that if we get an alarm in Acton or agua dulce or anything, hot-footed out there because it could be real because of everything going on. So they're not, it's not just going, oh, it's another alarm, it's the wind. It's no, we've had problems out there, let's go.
That's commercial or residential?
Both, yeah.
Okay, so when our alarm company calls you guys are gonna roll somebody regardless?
Right,
Okay.
yeah. And we've even rolled, and I've even rolled to places where they say, oh, cancel the call, it was accidental. It's like, you know what, I'm right around the corner, I'm gonna check it out anyway. Because we've had people, unfortunately, who leave the password taped to the little box on their alarm so they can remember it. And anybody can pick that up and go, oh, the password is horse, which seems to be, you know, I'm just using it, it's not a real, but, you know, and if it's there and the alarm company calls, they're gonna say, okay, what's the they're not even gonna ask the name. Hey, is this the Jones residence? Yes, it is. What's your password? Horse. Okay, thank you very much, click. And they end it, and then they send us a note, or they call us back and say, hey, the owner answered and verified the name. And we've asked them, hey, ask the name of who's there. And we've had a few that says, hey, there's someone there without the code, says they're Uncle Bill. Sorry, we're still going anyway. Where you get Uncle Bill's information and find out if he really belongs there. So hopefully we'll have good news by the next meeting. We're working on it. And then the last thing is, well, 2 things. Everybody take precautions for tomorrow. It's supposed to get wet. Of course, they said that today, and I'm still waiting. So I had to go turn my lawn sprinklers on and see what water looked like. Just kidding. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And the other thing is, I know they're going to put it in the paper sometime, but as of now, I am the first deputy in the county who has been assigned a defibrillator device for the car.
So that revives you when you
Yeah, when I go someplace, I go, oh, that report, no, that's. It was decided by the county that resident deputies should get them, because right now search and rescue has them, the SWAT team has them, our emergency services have them, the boat teams, but they're not assigned to a person, they're assigned to a vehicle. And then everybody gets qualified, but after much pleading from the station to the county, the county actually said, well, you're right, the resident deputies are out there and sometimes they beat fire, and this may save a life. So
excellent.
somebody came up with budget, and the other 2 resident deputies, as soon as they come back from vacation, will get theirs. So I got mine New Year's Day,
Great.
as a matter of fact. So There you go. And as a sad note too, we had a number of, and not just here, but all over, a number of suicides. And one of the two I was on New Year's Day, the coroner made a comment that apparently New Year's Day is the biggest day for suicides in almost the United States. So it was not a good, I mean, it was New Year's, I hate to bring that up, but some of the people are known.
Was it in Acton?
One was Acton, and the other was right on the border, more or less county area, but it wasn't Acton. But it was still kind of, they're hard to go to. We're still working on, trying to get people help when they need it. That was not a way to wake up to New Year's, but anyway, the coroner wanted me to let people know, if you talk to your town, let them know that, don't worry, it's not a spike if you read it in the paper, it's just, I don't want to say normal doing business, but apparently New Year's Day is the big day. And for some reason, that's when it happens, so. Yeah, I think they were probably covered, I know the signal covered one of them, but we didn't call them, we didn't ask them to show up, they just showed up at the scene, so we try to keep those quiet. Anyway, I think that's it. Anybody have any questions? No?
All right, well, thank you.
All right, well,
Stay dry.
keep the snowshoes handy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
501c4, I don't think there's any update on that other than the lawyers working on the bylaws, as far as I know. Okay, committee reports, planning, coordination, trails, and open space. Jack.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I don't have actually, I don't know, I think Pam might have the mailbox key, so she would have gotten the correspondence that indicates what's happening for hearings, but I'm not aware of any hearings that they're affecting us.
And you want to handle high-speed rail since Pam's not here?
Yeah, I can't, handle the wide panoply of topics that she would handle, but I can update you on one aspect that's of substantial concern to this community. The High-Speed Rail Authority, I don't know, within the last, I think it was April or May or June, the board stated that they would be hiring, I believe it's Mineta Transportation Institute out of San Jose State University, to look at various aspects of high-speed rail to address specific concerns that have been raised by residents on the Palmdale to Burbank segment. My understanding, the first study that's come out, I don't know the list of all the topics, but I think well water, geology was a number of the topics, but there was also concerns on animal impacts in general and equestrian impacts in particular. So that report just literally rolled out within the last week. And the purpose of the report was supposed to give the high-speed rail an assessment of known equestrian impacts on high-speed rail. I'm sorry, known equestrian impacts on horses from high-speed rail operations and construction, including tunneling underground and above ground. Unfortunately, though, when you read the study, they did two things. The first thing is they did a literature search to find out if there's anything in the literature that addresses equestrian impacts attributed to high-speed rail. The second thing that they did was they mapped, supposedly, the equestrian uses that are adjacent to or in the area of the proposed high-speed rail routes from Palmdale to Burbank. So I'll address the first thing first. They said that they did a literature search and they found no data out there pertaining to high-speed rail impacts on equestrian uses, and therefore concluded that there are no impacts. And then they did have a statement that said, well, this might just be because, it hasn't been studied yet, but we think it's because there are no impacts. And they cited three sources. The first source was a comment that was submitted by an equestrian group in England that was commenting on a regular train extension from someplace in Scotland to someplace in Wales. And it was not a high-speed train, it was a regular, 60-mile-an-hour train. And they said that horses tend to acclimate to those sort of events. Well, they took that line, and apparently, when Great Britain was looking at extending its own high-speed rail system from the Channel to further parts, the British environmental assessment took that line as justification for we aren't going to have any horse impacts for our high-speed rail. And then this study from the Billet Institute took that line from England that really addresses not high-speed rail as a primary reason why there aren't any horse impacts, equestrian impacts. So, their foundational premise is incorrect. The second source that they cite is the gentleman who authored a couple of papers and co-authored the Federal Railway Administration's guidance document on how to handle noise and vibration impacts. And I happen to have a number of his papers, and I read all of them. And in several places, he says quite clearly the lack of data on this issue should not be taken as an indication that there is no concern. So their own conclusions are contradicted by the very studies that they cite. And the third source was minor, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't much, but they really only had those three sources. So I wrote a fairly long email to Michelle, and I CC'd the folks in Hanford, and I CC'd the folks down in SAFE, Carol Gildersleeves, and I CC'd a number of people on town council too. I think I CC'd the ATC. And I said, these are all the things that are problematic, and I pointed out where their study is in conflict with the very documents that they cite. I pointed out that it was not peer reviewed, it should have been peer reviewed. The people who put it together, one has a PhD in political science. None of them are sound experts, none of them are equestrians, or at least not identified as such. And then, so I took them to task on that because it's important. I know at this point that they will be relying heavily on these reports as they come out when they put the EIR together. So the sooner that we articulate to them clearly and technically why these reports are insufficient, the more and earlier we are building the foundation for any sort of lawsuit that we might have to pursue. And also just to have credibility to our EIR comments when it comes out. So then the second half was the maps. And where they did identify Acton and Agua Dulce and Cagle Canyon and those areas down there in a very, very large boundary area where horses may be. It's identified as a horse area or equestrian area. But what they did to identify where the actual horses are, they just looked at boarding operations and they mapped large boarding operations. So there's like 7 that they found. There's a couple in Burbank, a couple in Cagle Canyon. But Acton doesn't have a lot of boarding operations. That's not how we use equestrians in this community. And if anybody's a horse person and can shed light on that, that's my understanding. That's how all my friends who are equestrians are. So I pointed out to Michelle that while Acton and Agua Dulce are identified as equestrian areas, there's a big X that says no information here about horses here at all. And so I said, it's clear to me that the drafters of this report never even came down and toured the routes, because you see the equestrian uses all along the routes. So we're not identified as a place where horses are. We have no places identified where there are horses, although the entire general hundreds of square miles is identified as an area where horses may be. They didn't even, I mean, there are places where the routes are going over horse properties. So, let me back up. The other thing I suggested to them was that what they need to do, what the study needs to be redone, the Billet Institute needs to do an assessment of all existing trains that currently operate over 200 miles an hour, because that's the key. A train that goes 165 miles per hour does not generate nearly the noise levels as a train that goes 220 miles per hour. And I actually cited several reports. One of them just came out of China within the last 6 months, so it wasn't available when we commented on our scoping comments. But it says very clearly that within 100 feet of the track, a train that's going about 220 miles an hour, 228 miles an hour, can generate over 112 decibels. So,
Within how close to it?
I think it's within 100, don't quote me on that,
Okay.
I have it in the email. But clearly, the point is that the faster the train goes, the louder it is, and also the frequency at which it makes noise is much lower. So when you're at, for example, when you're at a parade, you watch the drums go by, it's a really, really low frequency, you really feel it quite a bit. The faster the train goes, the lower the frequency is shifted to the noise. So you really feel the high volume noise, because it's a really low frequency. Oh, there's also high frequency as well, but it shifts, it's still high, I don't know if that makes sense, but
So the
it is-
perception is much higher.
yes, you feel it much more. You don't only hear it, but you feel it. And I cited those reports, and I also said that what you need to do is identify, just look at all because there are not that many routes that go over 200 miles an hour or more. Look at the land uses within 1,000 feet of those routes, because you can do that with Google Earth. Ascertain if any of those are horse corrals or horse barns that are actually occupied and in use. And then I said, chances are you won't find any, because you cannot use them because they are too close at that speed. So I pointed out to them how they could actually do the study right, and I gave them the formula for doing that. So I'm sure it's not going to happen, but if 3 years from now when we find ourselves in court, I'd like it if the judge would say, they told you within 2 days of this report being out how to go back and do it correctly, and you never did. So, at any rate, that's what's going on with that. Yeah.
Can I publish it?
Let me look at it first. I was,
Okay.
well, I mean, I can send you you can publish anything I send. I just want to make sure I don't. Yeah.
Right. Transweb.sjsu.edu.
Okay, so you send me this,
Can you say that again?
Transweb, TRANSWEB .sjsu.edu. Okay, anything else on the high-speed rail?
Not for me. Is that
Okay.
Mike?
Nothing?
That's the latest.
Publicity Association of World Town Councils, Ray.
They haven't had any this month.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't meet in December. They all got the letters.
Yeah,
and
they
they
canceled
signed.
the one in December, so,
Okay. No meetings for December.
so this month, they ought to have one this month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And then, publicity website, we've added a few little things to it, but nothing major. The calendar does work, and it should have the location and meeting dates on it now in January, and I'll add February here soon. Any other suggestions or anything? It's not getting a lot of use, I can tell you that, so, nothing there. Finance, Ways and Means, nothing there. Bylaws, I think we don't have anything there. Public Works and Utilities, Chris is not here, anything on Public Works, Jackie?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Vincent grade. First, let me explain what when I saw grading going out there about a month and a half ago, I called Metro and I called the PUC. Metro had to go before the California Public Utilities Commission to get a permit to be able to do this. When they filed for that 7 years ago, this town council filed and was and is a party in that proceeding. And it was in our filing, our protest of the application, we made it very clear that they were not to have access from the south side to the train station. Access was still to be maintained solely from the existing parking lot. We were told that was going to be the case. And in exchange for, because originally it was supposed to be on both sides, in exchange for us not dropping our protest, but amending our protest to not opposing if they make that change, they made that change. So I know that what the PUC approved was only access from the north, and a fence along the south. When I saw the grading happening a couple of months ago, I called both, and I got the plans for the train station expansion. And I looked at it, and it is still not access from the south. And I talked to both PUC and Metro, and somebody from, not FRA, but another train group. It's not just Metro, but there's another group involved. I can't remember who it was. I don't have those notes with me. But at any rate, they assured me that it wasn't access from the south. So what I'll do, I'll read this, because I haven't read the whole thing, and make sure that's,
Well, what it says, actually says there, that they'll be able to, the people who want to get on the train going north will have to get on that side of the track.
oh, okay, that's true. It does allow people coming in from the parking lot to cross the first track to get to the second track.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do that. Remember, we had that big argument over that.
Well, what we told them not to be able to do was to get to that track from the south of the train station.
But if you read that, what that says, that the people who want to catch the train from going from Vincent to Palmdale, for example, that they'll have to get on from the other side, not from this side.
Oh, well, my understanding was what they're doing is they're doing a platform in the middle, so they'll cross.
That's not what that says, but you may be right.
Okay, I will read this.
Yes,
I
yes, you
just
can
read
have
it,
it.
and I will, I have brought it to all the other meetings with my big notebook, the map that I got, so that people could look at it, but I'll bring it to the next meeting, and I will look at this also and make sure that's what it is. Because my understanding is they were supposed to access both platforms from only the parking lot side. So they crossed one to get to the other. I don't know which one's north and which one's south, I don't recall that, but, so they weren't supposed to be that way, so I will check that.
That's correct. There was a whole discussion we had about crossing, where to locate the crossing from the north side to the south side, whether there's crossing gates or how it was going to be done, but it was always going to be the boarded on the south side from a platform for the northbound trains, but no southbound access. That was prohibited.
From the south, oh,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that is how the site plan is depicted. So I will confirm that this, I'll reconcile the two, maybe we can talk, and I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we've had such an argument about it in the past, that, you know, these guys said, well, no, we're not gonna do nothing on the other side, and so on. So here you go, here comes an article saying that that's what they're gonna do.
It's pretty short, I can read the whole thing if you want, or do you wanna?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay, all right.
What's the date of that?
27th of
Yes,
December.
December 27th.
Is that Chris?
Yes. Page A3. Okay, so that's it that I've got for the utilities.
Okay.
Training.
Emergency disaster response to disaster planning, I guess we need to assign that to somebody for that.
Will we have somebody in the audience?
260 should be.
Mike, are you our liaison now?
I am, I've talked with Chris about how to, you know, get this information, handle that, but Cal, Lisby, and I will still be involved in that. But I
Okay.
think Chris will be spearheading it. Once you guys, you haven't elected officers yet, correct?
Not yet.
Okay, probably have to do that sometime soon. But
Yeah, we will, we just haven't had any. It's always make it
It's
tough.
been a rough couple of meetings.
Yeah.
Anyway, but once the committee appointments are set up, then Cal and I are still going to be, you know, principals in those committees, working with, I think with Chris, he had volunteered to be heading that up on the council.
Okay. You have anything to report today, or?
Nothing ongoing right now.
Okay.
Fire station was giving out sandbags.
Oh,
Okay.
for the rain that didn't
For
happen.
the rain that.
Well, they say it's coming, I don't know.
Hasn't happened
Beautification, illegal dumping, Katherine?
Nothing on that.
Nothing on that, okay. back to the Edison, Jackie, the name of the person I got an email from was Lydia Roman, and I forwarded you the email.
Okay.
And her title is Public Affairs Account Director.
Oh, so she'd be maybe Patricia's replacement, she was public affairs too, right?
Yes. And her telephone, I forwarded you this email, but her telephone number's attached too.
Okay.
And basically, she just said that they will be conducting passive monitoring next week on your property, meaning my property. And
Okay,
I asked for more detail what that meant, you know, passive monitoring of what. They just said that was a mistake. So,
Okay, well, normally that just means they're looking for critters.
well, they're there all the time. The biologist is, I mean, he's in our area, I see him almost every day. Meet at the fence and
Excuse me,
talk.
Tom?
Yes.
I just forwarded to the town council website a notification from Carmen McKay with an attachment regarding where the sandbag locations are, where they'll be distributing them.
Okay.
And I'm also going to be sending her an email to ask her to add the Acton Town Council website to that distribution list that she sends out on weather alerts and storms and fires and different things like that.
The Acton Town Council email.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Always make that mistake, website.
Yeah, I know.
I know where I'm sending it.
It's not exactly the same. It'd be nice if it was. Okay.
It'd be easy that way.
All right. Okay. Unfinished business? Any unfinished business?
Well, we were going to talk in January about filling the 2 vacant seats.
Yes.
And I know we've got some applicants who've come in. I think we really need to get that squared away. I don't know
Okay.
if we can do that tonight or,
Well, I don't think we could do
Not
that
without
without
Chris,
Chris.
yeah.
But we can definitely get on the next meeting's agenda.
and also if anybody is interested in being on the town council, we have 2 vacant seats. So the seats would be from now until the next election cycle, which will be November.
Are the people who have applied before, are they out of the running now? Because they never come to the meeting.
No, I don't
No.
think they're out of the running, but they don't ever come to
They don't
meetings, so
meet,
it's a
yeah.
little bit awkward. I don't
Yes,
quite know.
yes. Anybody talk to them?
But you guys are here and you come to the meeting, so.
Sorry, I
Yeah, we don't want you anyway, because you don't live here.
New business.
I
Yes.
have a question. I heard that act working towards being incorporated, is that right? Sorry for the
Acton?
laryngitis.
Oh, no, the town council is being yes.
Is being the town council.
The town council, not the community of Acton, just
Oh,
the town
okay.
council.
Good clarification.
All right.
As a
Open-
501c3.
As a 501c3, which is
Oh,
a
that-
nonprofit, but
C4.
C4, meaning nonprofit, but any donations made are not tax deductible. You can still make them. All right, open forum. Nothing tonight?
One comment.
Yes.
I just take personal offense to the fact that now that I'm off the council, you're all done by 8:15 or 8:20.
Well,
Hey, I tried to stretch it out. I
I'll be
really
sure
did.
that. All right, well, meeting adjourned at 8:18.
Yeah.
We're going to talk